Kathleen Comerford is a driving instructor and author of Pass Your Driving Test in Ireland, a handbook for success. Kathleen, you're very welcome to the show. Are you surprised at all by these figures?
Hi, Kieran. No, I'm not surprised. I'm always disappointed, though, when I get the hard facts presented in front of me and just wonder, what it is that's needed there. What is it the RSA could do in order to supply some kind of duty of care to these people, if that's what they need?
Yeah, I suppose it's understandable that there would be a certain amount of people at any given time on learner permits, and some of them may be, they could be on it for a few years. They may be finding it difficult to pass their test. But if someone's on it for more than a quarter of a century, I mean, that strikes me as being a little more than, just having a bit of difficulty reversing around a corner.
Yeah, there's probably numerous reasons for that happening. Like some people, I've been doing this for 20 years and I've experienced people with fears of failure, actually high people from, like, one guy was a major CEO executive who had failed 40 years earlier and just could not bear the thought of going back and doing the test again. So there are very legitimate cases, and I would just love some more support systems to be put in place by the RSA to help these people to actually just get through the system. And sometimes it might be something as simple as tough love, is that you have to do it, not that you just apply and pay for the test, but actually you have to turn up and do it, which you don't at the moment. Yeah,
it does strike me as a flaw in the system, doesn't it? That somebody can continue to drive for that long on a learner permit. Yeah. I doubt they have L plates up. I'm sure they're just driving as if they have the test done, but they haven't in some cases.
Yeah, and I mean, why is that allowed to happen, and what supports and what aids could be put in place to help these people to pass the driving test? I've just, in the lockdown, I recently put together online driver education programs. I've launched a YouTube channel because sometimes they think that they're not good enough, and clarity can just be like a great way of eliminating nerves. So if you know what to do and when to do it, and then you look at a video and go, actually, I am doing that, that could encourage somebody. I know the person from the RSA in that article has encouraged people to come forward, but sometimes you need to know that actually you're good enough to come forward and do an exam. There's lots of fears around exams. Ask any of the leaving certs at the moment.
I wonder as well, do many people feel that, after a certain amount of time, they've probably picked up bad habits? Because that's what we often hear, isn't it? The longer you drive, the more bad habits you pick up, and they're likely to go back, and that's what will fail them.
Yeah, well, I actually have a different theory around that, because I believe if you're driving, what you're doing is you're gaining experience and practice. And the idea of a bad habit, is that habit something that's dangerous? Yes, then, if you're tailgating inches from the back of a car or driving too fast when there's dangers ahead, that's not a bad habit, that's unsafe driving. So, I think I would love a breakdown of those learner permit holders and say, how many of them are actually driving and building up experience? Because a lot of what I'm dealing with at the moment coming out of COVID is drivers are contacting me, and out of, say, the 12 mandatory lessons that they have to do, they say did 8 of them in 2018, and now they want to finish the last 4 and then apply for their driving test.
But that is a good idea, isn't it, to apply for the test as soon as you can post lessons?
But do you know what's missing there, Kieran?
What?
The word experience and practice.
So they're getting their test, they're passing it, but they actually have no real experience of the reality of driving. Is that it?
No, they're saying they want to complete the mandatory 12 hours of lessons and go and do their driving test with just 12 hours.
Yeah, so they don't have the experience of the reality of driving.
Yeah, so could you play piano in 12 hours? Could you walk out onto Croke Park after 12 hours of any kind of training?
Is that a problem then with the system that needs to be addressed? They need to do more driving, you think, before they go and do the test?
Yeah, there's mandatory 12 hours of lessons, but there's no mandatory practice. And in other countries, even take Australia, for example, I think there's a mandatory 100 hours of practice. When I was learning how to drive, my parents insured me on the car and I did my lessons and then I went out and practiced with them. It takes a village, Okay,
and there's far too many people, you think, who are just getting the full license on those 12 hours of lessons, those 12 lessons alone and nothing else.
But they're not getting the full license, Kieran. They're failing their driving test because that's all they're doing is the 12 hours.
Oh, sorry, I see. Listen, my apologies. Yeah. When they get to sit the test, they're actually incapable of passing it.
They have not gone anywhere near being driving test standard.
And what are the reasons that they fail generally when they get in there? Say those people who just do the 12 hours of lessons.
Well, the main.
I understand. Like the whole they don't have experience, but I mean the actual. What's the actual technical thing they tend to fail on?
Well, the RSA on their website have a list of reasons why people fail the driving test, basing it on the 17 categories. And most of it is like observation and anticipation. And that really comes with practice, that a lot of drivers, when they start driving, their field of vision is very low because they're actually just trying to learn how to move the car and stop it. But as you become more comfortable with the car, then your vision goes up and you become more of a road driver rather than a car driver.
Okay, so that's the main reason, those observational skills. I mean, when you talk about, you know, habits, and the dangerous habits are the ones we need to worry about, like tailgating, for example, driving, you know, far too close to somebody, people not indicating, bad observational skills. I'd wager there's quite a few people in this category, this 1,400 say, who have a learner permit for 26 years, and they do things like they leave their hand rest on the gear stick or something like that while they're driving. But, you know, they've been told that that's a bad habit or that will fail them, and that's one of the reasons they're not going back.
Yeah, but, well, I don't know who told them that, because I'm pretty sure, like, I've had people come to me and say, oh my God, I'm really nervous. I'm afraid I won't keep my hands on the steering wheel. And I'd say to them, if you sit in a test situation with a tester looking at you for half an hour, you're going to keep your hands on the steering wheel, you know?
Yeah.
That's going to be the least of your worries.
No, and I'm sure maybe when they get in there, they'll do it. But they probably have, and look, as you kind of indicated there, maybe it's an irrational fear, but it's an irrational fear, you know, it's a fear nonetheless that they have, is that those little things, those habits might trip them up.
Yeah, absolutely. But I believe that the most important safety feature in your car is your brain. So if you can just really, I encourage all my students to look up the road and talk about the road and get your attention outside the car, because I believe that the testers are actually looking at how you drive the road, not how you drive the car.
And is there an argument, Kathleen, that like you talk about in Australia, that you have this 100 hours of practice after the lessons before you sit the test? Is there an argument that we should have some form of, you know, CPD for driving as well, that every 5, 10, 15 years, I don't know what it should be, that we should go back and sit some form of test? Yeah,
well, I mean, I believe that, like, if you think about it, cars have hugely improved in all of their specs. Roads are changing, motorways, everything is changing and improving. But actually, drivers aren't getting upskilled in any way to help and support them. Like, we woke up one morning in Ireland and there was roundabouts, but like nobody was shown how to use them. And I'm pretty sure some people still don't know how to use them.
Oh, Kathleen, do you know what my pet peeve is driving? It's when someone gets to a roundabout and it drives me absolutely batty, pardon the pun. But when somebody gets around it and they give a right of way to someone who doesn't have it, they give it to the person on their left. And they look, I don't want to be too mean because they think they're being nice, but actually it's just dangerous because the person behind them assumes they're about to drive off, and it defeats the purpose of the bloody roundabout. I'm just going to start venting now, but it really drives me mad.
Yeah, but it's called a misplaced courtesy, or sometimes they're actually doing it because they're scared to go onto the roundabout. And again, this is where observation comes in, and this is one of the listed things on the RSA website. Some people drive up to a roundabout as if it's a stop sign, because they really want to stop and see, is it okay to go, rather than with time and experience, you'd be approaching it in slow speed at a low gear, looking to see, could I get on there? Is it safe? Have I time to get in and get out safely?
All right.
But that takes experience, Kieran.
Yeah, listen, it sounds like you're saying that there's plenty of things that need reforming in how we assess and test and practice our driving.
And I hope someone will just start doing it, because I have a hashtag, Let's Get Ireland Passing, and I would really love for the pass rate to improve, because it would have huge implications and knock-on effects. I mean, this is road safety. This is life and death. You know, these are our kids you're talking about, you know?
Well, Kathleen, listen, we appreciate your time here on The Hard Shoulder. Kathleen Comerford, driving instructor and author of Pass Your Driving Test in Ireland, a handbook for success. Ed says, I've never understood why in the driving test they get you to do stupid, dangerous things that no experienced driver would even consider doing on the road, like reversing around a corner. That's a good question, Ed. Adrian says, my son did his driving test twice and failed, and it was only just before his third attempt that an instructor pointed out that he could apply to have a special examiner because he had dyspraxia, and this examiner could allow for that. But why did it take 3 attempts for him to find this out? He passed no problem at the third time. Anne says, I'm an experienced driver, full licence in the USA for 20 years, and I had to start from beginning here once I moved to Ireland. Had a terrible experience with the tester and have been unable to go back. So says Anne. So Anne is in that cohort of people driving on a learner permit because of fear of the test and the testers. 53106, keep your views coming in on that. Maybe share your own little pet peeves. I mentioned the roundabout. I mean, don't even get me started on those people on the motorway who I know full well, because of the car they drive, that they've got cruise control and they will not use it. They pass you out, and then they pull in front of you, and you pass them out, and then they pass you out, and then you pass them out, and so on and so forth. I'm going to get a placard made that I'm going to hold up on the M7 every day. Put on your bloody cruise control. Anyway, 53106. Like I said, I'm going to vent now between now and 7 o'clock on this. 53106. Keep your views coming in.